In this tutorial, we're going to create a web page that uses this scrolling technique where the background stays in place and each page that comes up is like a wiper. It wipes off one picture and shows the next section. It's a fairly simple technique to use, but you need to see how it is designed. And so you can see I'm creating a website for a conference that has the great attractions of jobs, famous speakers, controversy, and great charts to look at, and actually a party at the end. So our goal is to create this scrolling effect. It's not really a parallax format that some people say, but it is almost there, and it's really easy to do. So I'm going to take you through each step. We'll start with just colored backgrounds to see where the blocks of things are. We'll animate them like you see here, and then finally we'll add the background pictures. So let's go into our text editor and let's set up an HTML document. And let's save it. So the first thing I do is save this so that my color coding starts to work, and I'm going to call this thing index.html. I'm also going to add some CSS to this, so I'll create an external file and I will use this as my CSS file. So I'm going to call this thing fixed images. That's my technique here. So fixedimages.css, and then we will link these two together. So here in the header I'm going to put in an external link to another CSS file. So you can see I have the link set up. And let's put in a couple of things in the body as well. So our body is going to have a nav bar, and then following that we will have a couple of sections here that we're going to call divs. Now you can see that in my page over here I have, 5 different categories in my nav bar. So let's start there and create some links. So I'm going to have a reference to each of these sections on the page. And I haven't defined what those are yet, so I'll leave them just as a pound sign. Let's copy and paste these a few times. Now in the divisions down below, these are alternating pages, large, small, large, and small. So you can see that the pattern is alternating. So I'm going to set up 2 divs, one as large and one as small, and so I'll define those as classes. I'm going to call this the large page, and then the next one we will call the divider page. Now I think I've created 5 pages on here, so I'm going to copy and paste this 5 times. Let's save this. Now let's go into the CSS and make some of this happen. So first of all, I'm going to set the classes for the large page and then also the divider page. So for the large page, I want it to be the entire height of the page. So I'm going to go height 100%, and then for the divider page, I'm going to use the height of the page as only half of that, so let's go 50%. For the nav bar, we need some coloring here, so I'm going to have a background color. And let's try black for right now, and let's save this, and we'll save the index page, and I'm going to refresh to see what it looks like. Okay, so I have a whole bunch of page here, but I don't really see much. Let's go see what we can do with our CSS, and we'll distinguish these two. I'm going to put in a background color, and let's call this thing gray, and let's see for this one I'm going to use the background color, and let's leave it as white. And let's save that and see if that'll make a difference. So now you can see that my alternating pages are black, while they're gray and white. Let's return now to the HTML. Let's put a few things in here so that we know what we're going to be talking about. So the first large page we're going to have as just the H1, and we'll give this thing the title. So Technology Conference is the title that we're going to put on the page. So for the next page down, this is going to be about a H1. This is going to be about a job fair. Okay, so I put in a copy of the H1 in each one of those main sections. Let's save it, refresh the page, and we can see now which sections are coming up in my website. Okay, so now let's go and customize each of these. I'd like to also give these items an ID so that way we can put some pictures behind specific sections. So I'm going to put in an ID for each large page. I'm going to call them LG1 and LG2 and LG3 just for the word large. So copy and paste each of these. Now for each of those sections, I'm going to put in a picture. So LG1, and let's put in background image. So we're going to have a specific page with each of these having a URL to some photo. Now, where are we going to get these photos from? So I'm on Google Images, so I put in people attending conference as my search term, and I choose search tools, usage rights, and non-commercial reuse, so I'm not stealing anybody's work here. So let's take a few photos. Let's take the first one here and view it large. This is a very large picture, so we'll have to do some scaling, but you can see it comes from Wikipedia, so I am safe to use this. So I use conference1 for the file name. Let's search for some more here. What else can we find? This one here is my job fair. It looks like some kind of a event where the people are walking around. I'm going to call that a job fair, so let's do save as. Let's call that conference 2. So pick a few more. Like here, this is an angry man walking off the stage at a event, so I'm going to save this one here. So right click and save image as. I scroll down a little bit further and I see this group of people looking at charts. So I load up this, and this looks like a nice one for an expert who is good at making charts. So right click and save that one. And then finally I scroll down a little bit and I see something that looks like a party here. So let's download this image, another very large image. So let's right click and save that one. So you can see in my folder where my website is stored, I have conference 1, conference 2. I just named these as conference 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And so you can use these and other pictures if you wish in your backgrounds. Now let's switch back into our CSS files. So our large image 1, we're going to use the word conference1.jpg for our picture. So I'm going to copy this and use large 1 as my pattern. Let's see, that's 3, 4, and 5. I'm going to make 5 copies of this. Just rename all these things to 3, 4, and 5. And the pictures as well, since I named them, they're easy to rename here. So let's save this. And now let's refresh the page. Now you can see I've got pictures. They look really quite large. They're not going to fit on the page like I expected. So back in our CSS, we can fix up the large page issue. So we can have the background size set to be something that is going to fill in the page but no more, and that is the word cover. So let's put in cover and change the refresh this and see what happens. And so now it looks like the image covers the picture completely, and we can see the entire background now. So that's more like what we want. So now here is where the magic happens. How do you make this picture stay in place instead of scroll up? So it's a real simple add-on. We go to the large page area and we'll call it background attachment. Background attachment, what does that mean? Well, if we make it fixed, it means it's attached, it's stuck, it's like it's glued in place. And so now when we save it and refresh the page, let's scroll through here. And you can see that the background stays in place while the divider page is moving across the front. And so now we have this nice reveal pattern. And so all we have to do is fill in some more information between those dividers, and we have ourselves an interesting effect. Now let's go fix up some more HTML and CSS to make this look nice. Let's go into the body of our page and let's set the font family for everybody to sans serif. Let's change the H1s for everybody to be larger. Let's try double the usual. So let's go text or font size at 2 EM, and let's do color on that as white. Let's see what that looks like. So we save it again, refresh the page, and now we can start to see some bigger words. Now technology conference should be huge. Let's take up most of the page here. So for the technology conference title, let's give this thing a specific ID. So let's go ID equals main title and save that. Let's go into here and let's do a £sign main title and make this exactly like 5 times larger than the normal. So let's go font size and let's go 5 EM. Let's save that and show it now. And so the technology conference is getting bigger. I'd say we could go even bigger than that. Let's try something like 8. There we go. Let's also put some padding around things. So let's get into the large page area and put in padding. And let's put in a 1 EM around the edge. So the technology conference is not right on the edge of the thing. We need some content to describe each of these, so I'm going to type in some information for job fair and for the controversy and for the charts. So let's go into job fair. Right after the headline, let's put in a new item. So I've got a paragraph that says something about the job fair. Let's scroll down a little bit. Next to the controversy section, I'm going to paste in a paragraph there about controversy. The next large section down is called charts, 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 and so I'll paste in a section about how great our charts are. And lastly, there's a section called the party, so I will put in a paragraph following the party. So let's save this and let's do a refresh on our page. We can see some text now, but we can't read it very well. So it looks like we need to make this text white and make everything larger again. So back to CSS. Let's go to text. Let's go to font size here and let's double it. And let's do the color on that and make it white as well. Also, I like to work with something called the text shadow. It kind of sets off text when it's slightly in a background. So let's do a 2 pixel drop to the right and down and then give it a color. So our color is going to be something dark. Not quite 0, 0, 0. Let's go 2, 2, 2. Let's see what that does. There we go. So now we've got ourselves a really big title. That's too big now. And we've got the fonts and everything else in our pages. It's looking more readable. Next, let's go in and fix this really large font and make it a bit smaller. And let's fix up the nav bar so it looks better. So in the main title section in my CSS, I made it 8 times the normal. And then it's probably too big now, so let's go back to maybe 4 times the normal. Check that out. And that seems to be about right. Now for the nav bar, let's go and do some work here. So right now I have background color set to black. Let's change it to a little bit different. Let's change it to an RGBA. And I'd like to give it black as well for the color. But then for the last item, which is the alpha channel, I'm going to do 0.5. Then I'm going to give it a height. And let's set it to 50 pixels. So now I've got ourselves, it looks kind of gray now. So I'm also going to change the nav to be a position which is fixed. And so that means it'll be glued to the top of the page. Let's see what happens when I save that, refresh it, and now since it's fixed, you can see that it's always there at the top of the page. Still doesn't look too pretty yet. It needs to be wider and the colors of the text needs to be better. So now let's change the width of the nav bar to be larger. Let's do 100% for the size. And let's do the font size to be a bit larger. So let's double it as 2 EM. And let's refresh the page. Now, okay, it's looking a little bit better. You can see we've got a nav bar stuck to the top. A couple other things that could happen here that would be good is if we were to go and modify the stuff that is the A tag. So let's take the text decoration away, the underline part. So we won't have that anymore. And let's change the color to be white. And let's give it a margin on the left side to be like, let's go 30 pixels. Let's see what that looks like. So we'll save it and refresh the page. And now we have ourselves a menu that's near the top of the page. So the menu looks pretty good. Now let's make these anchor tags actually lead somewhere. So let's go into our HTML file and go back to our links up here. Right now they're just pound signs. And so I'm going to set them to LG1, LG2, and 3, and 4, and 5. Okay, so now they're all set to their locations. When I save this and refresh the page, I can automatically jump to each section. So those menus now are working as far as a same page link. Okay, now pretty much the last thing that's left to do is put in some pictures and some stuff in these white bars in the center. And so those are called the divider pages. So I'm going to put some content in there as well. So what kind of content do I want in here? Well, I'm going to put a picture of some celebrity here and then talk about the speakers at our conference. So let's go to Google Images and type in celebrity and search for non-commercial use. I've got some celebrities here, so I'm going to open up Kobe Bryant. Let's try him. So we'll get a large picture and do a save as. So you can see I've got a few people here. I've got Hilton, I've got Hugh Jackman, I've got Kobe, Letterman, and Rupert. And so those are going to be my speakers at my conference. So once I have those items saved, I can go back into my HTML and let's put in some of the speakers. So first of all, I'm going to put Kobe first. So let's go image source equals Kobe.jpg. So after Kobe's picture, let me paste in something here. I'm going to have a H1 that says great motivational speakers, and Kobe Bryant will be talking. Let's go down to the next section where we have a divider page again, and I'm going to insert something in this div. I'm going to, in this case, put in Hilton.jpg and talk about Paris Hilton. Let's go down to the next section where we have another divider page here on line 50. And let's put in something about Letterman.jpg, and we'll talk about him. And down in the last divider section here on line 60, it looks like we have room for one more. I'm going to put in Rupert, and we'll talk about rich speakers there. So let's save our changes here. So when we refresh the page, we look down, we see we have some issues with the size of the photos. We're going to have to do some CSS to work with these. So let's go find where we put these guys. They were in the divider page section, were they not? So we're going to insert something here called divider page and then a space. Let's talk about the image that's in that divider page. So for the image, I want to do a maximum height of, let's say, 80% of the container that it's in. So now I've reduced the size of the picture to 80% of maximum. Let's refresh the page and see what it looks like. So we've got a little bit of more reasonable size going on here for each of our celebrities. However, the text here is not floating around correctly, so we need to change the image float property here. So let's go back to our CSS and type in float, and we want to float the image to the left so the text will float to the right. We have another problem, is that our H1 text has been set to white, and so you can see that there's text on the page here, but it's in white. We need to change that. So back into our divider page section, we're going to override a H1 font. Let's change the color back to black. Okay, let's see what those changes will look like. So there we have it. We have rich speakers, and we have charts, and there's funny speakers, great looking speakers, and great motivational speakers. Lastly, let's change a bit of the margins here. So the divider page, let's do padding on the inside. Let's do a couple of EMs on that. And so let's save the changes and let's refresh the page. And we've got ourselves pretty much what we're looking for the final product. We could use a little bit more padding on some of these items, but that's a little bit more picky. Go ahead and fix up the CSS margins and padding to make things look more like what you want. But we got the main goal here, where we've got a menu and we've got the parallax looking backgrounds.